To a sports report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan. Robert, what's up, man?
Man, it is so crazy busy right now. I love it. We're getting things going. Sports, tons of sports, volleyball. I'm finding I'm loving coming over here and watching these girls just dominate against some of these teams, and they're playing unbelievable. We talk about Caruso. He had a huge start. We'll talk about him.
For sure.
Oh my God, watching some highlights I saw of him swinging the club, man, he looked like he's just stroking the ball quite well.
There are some good golfers here at LCSC. That is for sure. We will be getting into that and so much more on today's show. As you have brought up some volleyball, we are going to have the Cascade Conference Attacker of the Week. Jada Wyms will join us at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. We also have big LCSC sports news to give to you today. The AFL Grand Final was last week. So was the Ryder Cup. It is the final week of the MLB regular season. So much is going to come down to the last couple of days. We're going to just finally discuss who we think is the MVPs for the American League and National League since we ran out of time last week. We're going to discuss the past week in college football. We're going to rank our favorite college mascots. I loved the interactions we got for the last draft that we had, which was it was helmets. I think that went over pretty well.
Yeah, it was good. But I think a lot of it was on our own pages, so make sure you do that over on the R&R page. But
did you get more than me?
I did. I got a bunch on ours. But interesting how we kind of got almost, I don't want to say tongue lashed, but how we dogged out on the Cougars.
It's a terrible helmet.
Yeah, but
it's not terrible. The logo's fine, but the helmet it's there. It's not iconic like some of the ones that we picked.
Right, and that was the thing. And we had a lot that talked about, you guys all went old school. Well, not all of us. I mean, you took a helmet that changes every week.
I took two that changes every week. I took Oregon and Maryland that change all the time. You went more old school. I had Michigan that was definitely old school. But no, it's either tradition or crazy. WSU is neither.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what people think about who we picked in our draft this week. It'll be interesting to see what some of them say.
Yeah, we're going to have lots of fun there. At some point, I'm going to come up with a cooler intro than what I've had. I'm working on something. We will see how it works and if I get brave enough to do it. But first, let's get into the NFL. Week 3. And should we just get through the biggest news of the week?
Which one
just would you? This?
Which one you want to start?
Boom! We're going to take as much time on my New York Jets as they scored points. So we will move on. And let's talk about a record being set, sir.
Yes.
In what might have been the craziest ending I have seen in recent memory.
Right.
And there were some crazy endings all around the NFL this week. Another one we will talk about is my game of the week, but let's talk about your Baltimore Ravens and the 66 yard field goal that Justin Tucker hits off the crossbar and in. It hit the crossbar so hard it still hit the net.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely fantastic. I was unfortunately we had a good time. I'm not upset that we did it, but unfortunately when that all went down, I was at the county fair with Addie and having a good time watching her smash her face in the mirror maze. So I just saw the headline, Tucker hit 66-yarder, and I didn't take into account how crazy it was and just barely making it as a Ravens fan. Have you come down yet?
Listen, let's address the first part of that.
Okay.
Because everybody, has been jumping on me, even at school, even at bowling, and away from it. I get in texts that, they were delay a game on the 4th and 19. I understand that. I had a great conversation today. Yes, it was 4th and 19. They were letting the clock go down because they were going to try to get another, they had to get the first down. Mm-hmm. And the clock shows zeros. And everybody's screaming, it should be penalty. And I found out, and I talked with an official It happens to be a high school official, and we were talking about it in a college.
One
official.
of the few that are left in the world.
Right, one of the few that are left in the world.
I feel bad for like a Soton and smaller schools that, as working at the Tribune, I get emails all the time of our game got moved.
We'll talk
Thursday
about that,
or Saturday because we don't have enough referees. I always feel bad when I have to take that phone.
We'll talk about that here later, because that affects my schedule this next week. But yeah, so anyway, and I was talking to him about this, and they were talking about the call, and we talked the idea of it doesn't matter what the clock says; it matters the 30-second clock, what the official is keeping. So the back judge felt that it was started a little bit quick. And so we talked to I talked to a couple different guys in a high school level, college level, that says it doesn't matter what the clock says. It matters what the official on the field says. So for all those people that keep hounding me about, it was delay a game. Okay. But they didn't throw it. How many times does that happen though?
This is just from hearing, NFL referees after their career talking about it in interviews and stuff, but even if they're following the clock, their whole rule has always been watch the clock. When it hits 0, then you look to see if the ball is snapped. So you still get that little extra hiccup in there as well. Yes, I mean, you can complain about everything. And all there was, but still, it's 66 yards.
Yeah, that dude could kick it. And he talked in his press conference afterwards, he had missed a couple of 65ers in warm-up, but John Harbaugh has that relationship with him that, he can hit a field goal anytime. And that's just what happened. I mean, they just, for me though, yes, he hit that. It's a nice record, but the way that they played leaves a little bit to be desired, Hollywood,
a little bit.
Hollywood drops 3 passes that one should have been an easily walk-in touchdown. Couple would have put them in field goal range earlier.
Listen,
but
we weren't here to talk about the rest of your family. We were here to talk about one leg.
Yes, Legatron.
The goat leg.
Yes, he is probably the greatest kicker, and we will probably hear that. He is probably one of the greatest kickers of all time.
I think he is the greatest.
Yeah. As we know, he missed a 40-some yarder early in the game at the very first quarter. So
he was saving himself. If he makes that, then he never even attempts 66 yards.
Exactly.
That's how you have to look at it. Another game I wanted to bring up just because I feel like I kind of jinxed it with our power rankings that we put out last week, where I said Mac Jones was the only rookie who was having a decent start to the season because he wasn't making mistakes. But then he decided to pull a Jameis Winston and make plenty of mistakes while facing Jameis Winston. Just, again, I'm not knocking Mac Jones. I still think he's having a solid start to the year. Rookies are going to do this. It's going to be rough. There's going to be bumps in the road for sure. This was definitely one of his. Another rookie that had a bump in the road or 2 or 3 or 4 or... How many times did Justin Fields get sacked on Sunday?
I didn't
9 times.
I didn't put how many knockdowns he had. He had a I don't want to say 5 or 6 knockdowns, but he was sacked 9 times.
That's rough.
It's terrible to think about. But you said his name, Winston, again. I mean, how much more do we have to keep watching him on and off? I mean, he had 128 yards this week. Only completed 13 passes. That's just
they're not throwing the ball that much. It's just
and Kamara didn't have that much either. So
offensively, they seem a little off. Even when they beat Green Bay, the offensive numbers weren't great. The defense just played so great that they had short field and they did exactly what they needed to. I mean, Jameis Winston was 13 to 21. It's not terrible.
Not terrible, but
I mean, QBR is 68.5. Again, it's exactly what he needs to do. No mistakes.
Right.
I'm totally happy if Winston another interception. They're not past 100 yards, of course, and that's all they needed. They won by 15. They were run the clock, keep the other team off the field, don't make mistakes, beat Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. The other game that sticks out to me, and maybe it was just silly, and maybe it was just because I was sitting with Jimmy, and Jimmy and I were watching the game. But how about those pair of 0-2 teams? I think Atlanta and New York it was crazy to watch that game between them. They both played quite well. It was interesting. It came down to basically the final quarter. It was weird to watch a pair of 0-2 teams and They actually played hard, and
Well,
it wasn't a crushing on either side.
Teams, they're going to play hard. It's still week 3. There's not one team in here that's not going to play hard. I think the Jets, obviously, you look at their game, and they had 0 chance against Denver in that really tough defense. But, of course, they played hard. They're just young and inexperienced and got some life lessons on Sunday. And, of course, they played hard. But I don't know why we're talking about – I mean, that's a crappy game. That's a straight-up crappy game. Let's talk about a good game.
Okay.
How about the Chargers and Chiefs?
Oh, man. How many people are already like, oh – Chiefs are 0-2. Who would have or 1-2? That's what I meant.
They were very close to 0-3. The Browns were up for a while in week 1.
Yes. So who would have figured that they would be at the bottom of the AFC West?
It's still early. I'm not counting them out.
No,
by any means.
I can see them slingshot and pass, but
and they have had a very, very difficult schedule. Browns, Ravens, Chargers. It's difficult.
I think if I remember right, I typed them in last night. They get the Eagles this week, so at Philadelphia.
Slightly easier game.
So, yeah, so but
how
Hurts hasn't looked bad in his the last 2. Hurts has not looked bad the last 2.
No. Are we ignoring the first half on Monday?
Well, I didn't get to see the first half. I got to see the second half.
The first half was pretty ugly. I took the Eagles as my upset for Monday night, and it would have won me our bowling league picks if they would have pulled the upset. And by the end of their second drive, I told Haley, no, there's 0 chance I'm winning this because he looked really, really bad. He was able to bounce back once they were down by 30 and just throwing it wherever they needed to, but no, it didn't look good.
Listen, you had a good week on picks. We'll post that on Thursday, but you had a great week on picks.
Yeah, because I finally didn't pick my Jets. That's an extra win.
You took my Ravens, so I was like, wow.
I would have lost that one. How about another good game that actually turned out to not be that great? The Rams, they only win by 10 against the Buccaneers, but I got to watch that game a good bit because we got home by then and everyone was kind of resting. The Rams dominated that game. At no point did the Buccaneers look like they were in it. Now, does that mean that the Buccaneers have no chance of making it to the Super Bowl? Of course not. Things are going to change, no problem. Tom Brady gets a second chance at this Rams team. Could be completely different. But that defense completely stifled Brady, I think. It showed that Tampa Bay really needs to find more balance, which was really interesting to me putting our power rankings together this morning after we had both filled them out, because I hadn't even read. You got yours done before I could get to mine, and I didn't even look at yours until this morning when I was putting them together. I want to say that, somebody go back and check for me. There's like 7 or 8 teams that either one of us put need more balance on offense. And Tampa Bay is a huge example of that.
Right.
And I didn't even put that for them because I was making more of the joke because, yes, Tampa Bay lost today, but in the second quarter of that game, all they were talking about was, oh, Tom Brady's going back to New England. Did you know? Yeah. Did you know that Tom Brady used to play in New England and now he's going to go back on Sunday and could pass the all-time passing record? Nobody is talking about the Buccaneers losing to the Rams.
No.
All right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. They want to hype up this game so much. That was the whole thing in July and even in April when the schedules come out, the end of April, that's what everybody was talking about. Sunday night, here we go. Week 4, Sunday night.
Yeah, and if Tom Brady does this and this and this, he'll have a chance to pass the record in New England. We all knew it was going to happen. Yeah. And he only needs 47 yards or something like that to do it. Of course, he's going to. So, NBC gets their big matchup, and by the first drive, the record will be broken. Yeah. They'll have will they? Do you think New England will let him have his moment?
You would think
when he breaks the record.
You would think so, but I don't know.
You think they'll stop the game?
I don't know if Bill Belichick will let that happen. Honestly.
I'm actually curious about that now. Because like Drew Brees would pass records. That was really fun last year when Drew Brees, Tom Brady just passed the record back and forth for a bit. But like when he would surpass a record, they'd stop the game and had this whole moment. Tom Brady's been there a very long time. I think even though the breakup wasn't the cleanest, it wasn't dirty by any means. And I do think that Patriots fans don't blame Brady for the breakup. It was just one of those things. It was time. It was at the end of his career. It's time to move on kind of a situation. So I think the fans will make a big deal out of it. It's just whether they stop the game or not.
Yeah, listen, I think the funniest thing that happened about the press conference on Sunday is Bill Belichick. We all know how he is with his press conferences. Most of the time it's, we're on to this. And it was kind of funny how he was, asked the question, how, I'm drawing a blank, how Tom, coming in, what that was going to do for the mentality of your team getting ready to take on that. And he turned it back into, well, we need to go back and watch the stuff against our Saints. And it was not, we're looking forward to next week. He doesn't want to give
any kind of headlines for anything.
And
this is part of it.
Do you applaud him for doing that? So for so many years?
I'm just used to it. It's fine. I think I've learned now that I'm part of this media that is asking coaches questions, though I'm not like at press conferences.
Right.
There's a certain coach that we will talk about off air that is very Belichick-like.
Oh, yeah.
Especially on a loss. Especially on a loss, where it's like, thank goodness that I got information from someone else because I'm not getting it from you at all.
Right.
And I'm trying to fill this story, and you're giving me absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, there's other coaches that lost and will talk my ear off for 20 minutes. And I'm like, I got like 3 paragraphs I can write about you, dude.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's just some of these. I can't wait for the time that he finally retires, and somebody gets crazy and throws a compilation all together of all of his of press conferences over the last 20 some years, and listen to the way he talks and how he talks to different people. It'll be interesting.
Do you think, and we're on such a tangent, but I'm loving it too much. Do you think that when Bill Belichick retires, he's going to go on an Undertaker tour where he breaks the character? Like Undertaker, for any wrestling fan, was well known for never breaking what's called kayfabe, which is basically meaning he never broke character.
Right.
If you saw him on the street, nothing. Like if there's any chance that you're going to catch him on film having a normal conversation outside of his character for years, he would never do that. The moment that guy retired, he was on every talk show imaginable, breaking down business, talking about the road, talking about everything that everyone else just talks about willy-nilly. So I'm just curious if, like, the moment Bill Belichick goes, I'm done coaching, let's have a sit down, let me tell you all the dirt about Spygate and Deflategate and everything that really happened. I'm just curious if we're going to get some crazy Bill Belichick special the moment he retires.
I think it'd be probably 6-8 months down the road. It might happen. But I mean,
it's still,
it'd be I would too. I mean, inquiring minds want to know, but I think it'd be fun to watch. What happened.
Have him on Peyton's place.
Yeah, there you go. That would be interesting. Have you? Speaking about Peyton, did you watch any? And I didn't. It's like I texted you the other day, and I hope the wife's not listening and watching or anything like right now, because we're a little behind on Big Brother, and it finishes on Wednesday. So trying to play catch up, and so I only watched about a quarter and a half last night. Have you watched the Manning brothers do their thing?
I watched a good amount of it last week before I had to go to work. It's interesting. It's fun. I would rather see the highlights of said show.
Right.
I'm just one of those people that, maybe it's because I'm in that profession, kind of, that I like the play-by-play. I like that feel of it, or maybe I'm just so used to it, which is weird because I'll watch Red Zone all Sunday and it's bouncing around and stuff, but it's still focused on the plays. And I think Peyton and Eli, which they're entertaining and very fun and insightful, and the things that they see after the fact are always intriguing. Half the time aren't even talking about what's on the field, especially when they have their guests on.
Right.
Like I watched last week and they had Gronk on for 2 segments, and I don't know if they said anything about what was going on the field that whole time. So it was...
Well, and then the other one was the game, and we all kind of knew the game of the week was going to be that Kansas City Charger game, and that's where they put Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Tony Romo seems to have lost his prediction picks, and this play's coming, this play, and it wasn't there. Andy Reid went someplace
Well,
different.
he's
I'm
got
like,
old.
and that's
He's
why I'm
got
wondering, has he lost his prediction kind of thing? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny listening because they had that one in the background, so I was able to listen to it.
Honestly, what they said about John Gruden.
Right.
And, John Gruden's come back, but the game's passed him by. It's taken him a couple of years. All of a sudden, John Gruden, those Las Vegas Raiders, they're 3-0 on the year. To get back into some week 3 talk, that was another fantastic game. Our buddy Richie and Cameron were both at that game having a good time. What a back and forth ridiculous game that was. Miami scores the first 14 points, and then Oakland scores the next 25.
Something like that, yeah.
And then the Dolphins have to score the last 11, including a sneak by Brissett with either no time left or 2 seconds left on the clock. I think it was 4th down either way to get within 2. Then they get the 2-point conversion to push it to overtime. Then the two teams split on field goals before the Raiders are able to score with no time left. If he misses that field goal, we have our tie. The Raiders are 2 missed field goals. Well, I guess they scored the touchdown. They're within this much of having 2 ties this year.
Right. 2 overtimes, and they really, that second game kind of blow out Pittsburgh there in week 2, in a very dominating win. And the Raiders, their 2 wins are over. Are they too hyped? Are they getting too much?
Listen, the Steelers are worse than even we thought, and I think both of us had them 3rd in the division, and they might be 4th.
No.
But they did beat Baltimore, who's beaten Kansas City.
Right.
They did beat the Dolphins, who, it is still the backup quarterback, and it was closer than it should have been. It wasn't obviously Buffalo crushed them the week before. If you're saying the Raiders are 3-0, they are the favorites to win the AFC West, you've gone too far.
Right.
Are they very much in the playoff hunt and possibly division winners? Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, they get another chance at primetime. They get the Chargers this week.
That's going to be a good.
That's going to be a good game. Does the Raiders have a chance to knock off the Chargers and go 4-0?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a division game. It's going to be really, really close. I love Herbert, obviously, and then him beating Kansas City. But do the Chargers come down from their high for finally winning an Arrowhead and then have a letdown game on Sunday night? It's very, very possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Raiders could definitely start 4-0.
I just hate saying Raiders 4-0 and leading the AFC North or AFC West when we're so used here lately to saying Patrick Mahomes connection. It's just weird and insane. But how about we throw out a couple other ones? And the stats that I saw, how about your boy Aaron Jones and Cooper Kupp? Free Aaron Jones and Cooper Kupp leading the NFL right now with 5 touchdowns apiece in 3 games.
Pretty good.
Can we keep that pace for both those guys?
Aaron Jones struggled a little bit. He still scored on Sunday night, but I don't think they used him as much, especially in the passing game. It was very a Devontae Adams game. But yeah, Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford are the next great duo. They are last year's Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. They will be leading fantasy teams to championships with what those two have been able to do. Right now, obviously, it's only 3 weeks in, but I think Stafford's my MVP.
Yeah,
through 3 weeks.
Well, listen, I mean, why I ask you that is Cooper Kupp is leading right now, 367 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 catches of 20 plus, 3 catches of 40 plus. It's just nuts to see finally Cooper getting the touches that he deserves. I mean, but he's played behind Woods. He has played behind Woods. Yes, he had injury. Could this be his season that he makes a point with Stafford?
It'll be interesting in a couple of weeks when teams start focusing on him instead of Woods.
All right.
If that changes things, or if they're just so afraid of Woods' deep threat and Kupp has been so good his whole career of getting open, and he's so good. It'll be interesting. But I got to ask you before we move on here to our awards and stuff. How weird does it feel to be like? I feel like we're in the 90s again. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in, but you have the Bills leading the AFC East. You have the Raiders leading the AFC West. You have the Dallas Cowboys leading the NFC East. Of course, the Packers are still up there. So it's like That's the early 90s
Yeah,
again.
reliving Jim Kelly and Troy Aikman, and yeah, it's just crazy to think about.
Just nuts. All right, let's give our awards away. We've mentioned both of our names before. I'll go ahead. Justin Herbert, going on the road to Arrowhead, getting the win. So he gets my player of the week. He's 26 of 38, 281, and 4 touchdowns.
As much as I want to say my boy Justin Tucker, yeah, he missed one, but I'm going to go with the guy we just talked about, Matthew Stafford, man. 27 of 38, 343, 4 touchdowns, a QBR of 134, and was only sacked 1 time.
It's crazy.
It's just nuts for him. It seems like he's revitalized his football love now in LA. Maybe it's the bigger market. I mean, we always talk about market. And market makes the guys play some, I don't think so. I think it's the coach. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the story that when Stafford met McVay, like the first time they met, they went, "Yeah, this works.
Yeah,
I got to make this happen."
I think that is going to be a huge thing over the next few years. And I don't remember what his contract looks like. I think he's got another year left in LA.
I think he
his
career in the ring.
Yeah, I think he resigns. So I mean, but hats off to Matthew Stafford, and you could easily throw Cooper Kupp in there from this last week too.
All right, how about your game of the week? That was for week 3.
Yeah, it's got to be the Chargers Chiefs. I mean, as much as I would really want to talk about the few that I did watch, the Chargers just jumped out there, and Kansas City came back. I mean, it was a great game. I mean, we kept turning back and looking at it, but I think these teams in the AFC West have finally figured out, and a few of these other ball clubs like Baltimore has finally figured out how do we attack against Andy Reid's offense? How do we go and make a difference in that one? Mm-hmm. So it was an enjoyable game to watch.
For me, it was Sunday Night Football. Again, I didn't get to watch a ton of the early games, or I would have possibly picked one of those. I was really, really close on picking the Raiders and Dolphins because that back and forth was great. But just the fact that Packers look like they're going to pull away, 49ers fought their way back, and credit to Garoppolo and leading the charge. And it's so sad to me. A buddy Jesse messaged me a little bit later on Sunday, just going 37 seconds. Like 37 seconds is too much time to give a quarterback now to get all the way down in the field goal position. We have talked about prevent defense on this show last year several times and how we hate it so much.
Yep.
And with 37 seconds and they need a field goal, I get playing safe. But allowing 30 yards in front of you is too much for these quarterbacks because they're so good at finding that person and getting them in the right spot to get out of bounds or running up real quick and still being able to spike the ball. You got to put pressure on them. Yes, you can tell your secondary, no matter what, do not let anyone behind you.
Right. But
put some pressure on the quarterback. If they start running, cool, you're running clock out.
Yeah, you play, and we teach it, at the middle school level, down and distance, man. You know that if you got that lead, you're gonna give up a little bit, but not as much as I get on Wink Martindale all the time about it. He does the same thing. Baltimore got up in that game. Detroit should have never had the opportunity to get back into it, and they got back into it with a minute left. Why
are you getting after the old game show?
Because they call him Wink. Martindale is the coach there in Baltimore. That his nickname is Wink.
You had me so confused.
Sorry, I guess
I was on Life is Like a Game Show, which you can find on W2M Network. There's a plug for Eric and Harry.
Yeah, I watched that one the other night when they were doing that one. But no, Martindale does the same thing. They go into prevent, and they let Detroit get right back into it. They let Goff work his way back down into that game. I mean, it just, like you said, they got to keep pressure. I mean, you look at the guys that are playing right now, the Aaron Darnold, the Bosa, they can make huge plays. Let them play ball. Quit dropping them back or just doing this.
We're good giving up 20 yards to Aaron Rodgers. If you try to give him 20, he's going to take 35.
Exactly.
Easy. and he's going to have time to kick the field goal. We were joking, though. Obviously, we bowled during Sunday Night Football. Tony and I were joking before Rogers connected with that last pass of how great would it be if Justin Tucker broke the record and then had his record broken later that night.
Yeah.
Because the Packers were in position right there for it would have been like a 67, 68-yard field goal. I mean, it's outside in the elements. It's not going to be as easy, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both of Tucker's longest field goals ever have been in Detroit. Both of them, 65 and 66.
Oh, before we move on, because I just remembered this. I was going to put it in the notes, and I forgot. You saw it firsthand 2 weeks ago with Baltimore going for it in their own side of the field late in the fourth quarter to lock up their game with Kansas City.
Right, 4th and 1.
This week, Justin Herbert, they could have a chance to kick a field goal to take the lead. They were tied with Kansas City. They go for it on 4th and 4 to extend the drive instead of kicking a 35, 40-yard field goal, and were able to drive down and score with much less time on the clock. They missed that extra point, so it still could have ended up really bad for them. Do you think that these teams have just went, okay, Patrick Mahomes is so good, we have to risk it. I'm going to gamble on my offense instead of my defense trying to stop Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we doing that for an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady? I love it. I love these play calls. I'm going to risk the offense instead of kicking a field goal with a minute 20 to go and then saying, okay, defense, try to stop Patrick Mahomes when it counts, because it never works.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's in that play call you're talking about. They took a timeout because we had just turned and looked up there. It was 4th down, and they go ahead and take a timeout. And so, yeah, let's talk about it. What are we going to set up? But I think it has gotten into the minds of these coaches now. We're going to go. I mean, it's the younger coaches. We're going to go for it. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you're at on the field. 4th and 1, 4th and 4, 4th and 19. I mean, it's the same thing. I think they're just like, prove that you can stop us defensively. And I think that's what it's come down to. But, you were talking. I mean, you've got people like Josh Allen that can run the ball. You got to spy on him. Singletary isn't the world. I wouldn't take Singletary right away, but to have the targets he has to get the ball down, and he has legs to run. You've got, I'll toot Lamar. I mean, the same way. But you look at these guys that have so many great, talented people. I'm going to take Stafford throwing a nice little under route to Cup every time for 4 or 5 yards. So I mean, it's just come down to that design, that play calling ability is just going to be, it's so much different than it was, 20 years ago. And I mean, maybe even 10 years ago. Yeah.
It's so different. And it's the Madden mentality for sure. How about a game of the week for next week? What game are you looking forward to?
I really like, I want to say, Baltimore, Denver. I mean, but I'm going to change it because we all know what the hype game is going to be. So give me Tampa Bay and New England. Yes, he's going to break it within the first 2 drives, but
first drive. I don't think they run the ball once until he breaks that record.
I think that's the one that we're most likely going to see is that game. As much as I know that Denver Baltimore is going to be huge afternoon game.
It's not even the best afternoon game because my game of the week is the best afternoon game, and that is the only game between 2 undefeated teams. Give me the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. I think that's a shootout. I think it's going to be fun. Though I thought last week's match between the Rams and the Buccaneers was going to be a shootout, and just the Rams went off. But we got a great week. Monday Night Football, Raiders and Chargers. You said Buccaneers and Patriots. Sunday Night Football, Steelers and Packers. Not as much of a good game on the field, but the history there is great. You said Ravens and Broncos. That's going to be fun. Seahawks and 49ers. The Seahawks are 1-2 and struggling, but it's still division.
I honestly think this is so far the best week in football. Out of the first 4 weeks, do you look at the matchups? I think it's probably the best one.
Texans and Bills and Titans and Jets are maybe a little different. But let's do our Thursday night pick. It will be the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 2-1 Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, my loser pick is Jacksonville.
So
saying it on air right now, and we can move on.
So I think Joe Burrow's he's had 2 okay games. He's still down in the bottom, below 20 in ranking quarterbacks the last 2 weeks.
It's Jacksonville. Home
it's
team on Thursday
Jacksonville,
night.
yeah.
Give me all of the
it's me too. Give me Cincinnati there.
You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston and KLCZ.com. You can also check us out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages, and it's that way where you can interact with us during the show.
Mm-hmm.
And also you can check out our last baseball power rankings next week, and as that'll be out on Monday, and then our weekly NFL power rankings is out on Tuesday. You can yell at us for our mini drafts that we do near the end of the show on Wednesday, and then you can see our NFL picks on Thursday, and then Friday we rest because I haven't thought of anything to make us do more work on Friday.
I was say we could talk our football, our local football, but it's it'll be a little rough this week, I think. A little rough.
We will get into that.
Be sure to attend the LC State Career Fair on October 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Activity Center. There's something for everyone. Come prepared to network, learn about new jobs and internship opportunities, even explore graduate schools and programs. Who knows? You may meet your future employer. Please make sure to bring your mask and socially distance during the event. Meet your next opportunity during the LC State Fall Career Fair, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Activity Center. See you there.
And let's talk about that local football scene and start with the Lewiston Bengals, who did suffer their first loss of the season. I'm blanking on who they played now. Post Falls, Sandpoint. They played Sandpoint. So many schools in my head, I lost track. They lose to Sandpoint last Friday night, 42-41 in overtime. This game was absolutely insane. Speaking of insane, Cruz Hepburn, just ridiculous. 20 carries, 244 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I have been told that Denny Grubb believes it is a top 5 single-game rushing performance in Lewiston Bengal history.
Right. So
congratulations to Cruz. Jace McArcher had a very good game. He threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for another 100 yards and another touchdown there. Jared Jelinek, did I finally get it right?
Jelinek.
I'll get it. I'll get it right, Jared. I apologize. Not only did he have 5 catches and 95 yards, he also intercepted the ball with, under 4 minutes to go, I believe, in a tie game. Lewiston drives all the way down to the 1-yard line with under a minute to go. Unfortunately, they get a holding call, pushes them back a little bit. They go for like a 32-yard field goal and miss it, which pushes them to overtime. Lewiston scores on their opening possession in overtime. Sandpoint responds. They decide to go for 2. Coach talked to me on Friday, said it was they had the right defense for that play. They were just able to execute better than they did. Just one of those things where sometimes you're in the right position and you still can't stop somebody from going 2 yards. Very, very good game, but Lewiston does lose 4-1.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you, and we've had this conversation with Cruz a couple of times over the last couple of years, how much of an athlete he is. He's very dominant in this football, but he's not moving on in the football side. He's already committed to playing baseball. Do you think now the way he's putting up numbers here in his senior year, does he change and turn and go down the football direction?
Only if a school jumps out and tries to pick him up that way. And then even then, I think he's going the safer route.
Right.
Not to say that it's safer to make the pros by going baseball, but just physically.
Right.
And if he likes baseball more than football, I can't blame him.
And he's told us that he loves the baseball side of it, and UW is looking at him. Lots of schools have looked at him for that. It'll be interesting to see if now with the numbers that he's putting up against certain clubs, what can he? I mean, he looks really good out there on the field. And Lewiston right now, one of the top 5A teams in the state, if not probably one or, I'd probably after the loss to Sandpoint, they probably dropped down a little bit to like a team from Capital or from Voice area. But, and we'll start getting into some of those rankings as now we start having league play. But, Lewiston can easily make another state run, I think, this year. So
with that running game, for sure. How'd Clarkson do?
The Bantams come away with their second straight win. Great to see them now 2-0 in the 2A, knocking off Pullman. They jumped out to a quick lead, 14-0 there early. But I tell you what, it had this game. I was trying to watch it while I was out of town on Friday, as I was not at home and I got grief from that, from not just players but also spectators, knowing that I sit up in the box and I wasn't there to call it. It was, I had a lot of people telling me how that game turned out besides trying to watch it. But Tiger Carringer just looking great. 18 carries, 141 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he just was carrying the ball and it was rushed right up the gut. Carter Steinwan looking decent again. No touchdowns this week, but, completing 10 of his 20 passes for 187. Clarkson scores all of 5 of their 6 on the ground, but it just was all about that offense and the offensive line for this ball club. But let's talk about Pullman's kicker for a second. Pullman's kicker, Jackson Patrick, and watching the highlights, watching Huddle and watching the game, that boy can kick. I mean, he's hit some big field goals, one of which was 40 plus. I mean,
very rare.
3 of 3 on field goals. So he looked really good. So it'll be interesting. The Bantams will be on the road this week as we go up and take on Rogers. And I found this out. We will play at Gonzaga Prep. So that's where the game will be at. So it'll be interesting there. So.
Stoughton loses again. They go to 2-2 on the year. Colfax jumped out to a 20-0 lead and held on to win 26-14. Preston Overberg was 8 of 14 for 89 yards passing. He also had 97 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Now let's go to LCSC sports, and I'll quickly touch on volleyball. We'll get into it more at the top of the hour when we have Jada Wyms. 5 straight wins, all at home. They sweep their homestand, including their 2 games this weekend. Closer matchups than I think a lot of us thought they were going to be. But I liked the grittiness of the team and the comments that I got after, both from Jess Ruffing and then Carly Bernston, who joined me after those 2 games. But they do beat Warner Pacific 3-1, and they beat Multnomah 3-0 on Saturday. But it's this weekend, and I'm so disappointed that I don't get to go on the road with this team. I'm going to cry about it to Jada here in about 15 minutes. But on Friday, find a way to watch it, find a way to listen to it, root on the Warriors. Friday at 7 p.m.
So I looked on LC Warrior, and there is an icon that says you can watch it.
So hopefully, Friday at 7. LC will be taking on Corbin, who is the number 7 team in the country. They are undefeated right now, obviously tops in the Cascade Conference. It's going to be a very, very difficult test for the Warriors, but if they could play to that top level that I've seen throughout the year, they have a pretty good chance of at least being very, very competitive, if not winning that match. And then Saturday, it doesn't get much easier. They play Bushnell, who is 3rd in the Cascade Conference right now. So it's going to be a difficult weekend for Warrior volleyball. Honestly, if you ask my honest opinion, hoping for a split. You go 1-1 in that weekend, that's a successful weekend.
Oh, yeah, by far. And we'll get into it a little bit more with Jada, but I think going against that number 1 ranked team, their number 7 ranked team, Corbin, it's going to be test the mental game, I think, of these girls, as they just seem to have run through everybody that has showed up here at the activity center. It'll be interesting to see how they do against another team where their fan base is not there. We've had some decent crowds there. We'll talk about that here in the next few minutes. But how about LC Golf?
Have you seen the results for today?
I have not seen the
Okay, cool. I
results.
can break some news for my man Robert over here. Let's start on the women's side. Women came into the day in third place. They do finish in third place with a 3:07 today. They finished 6:17 for the tournament. They were 25 shots behind British Columbia, 5 shots behind Oregon Tech. Alexandria Schmidt led the way for the Warriors. She finished in third. Deanna Carrasso finished in ninth for the women, but it was the men who stole the show, and it was Devin Caruso who came into the final round in the lead, and with a 3-foot birdie putt on the final hole, our boy Devin Caruso wins the Warrior Invite. I forgot what the tournament was called for a second. The Warrior Invite.
Mm-hmm.
And with that 3-foot birdie putt, he helped the team tie with British Columbia for the overall team result. But they needed the birdie to at least tie for the win. And then they all jumped in the pool to celebrate. It was a pretty cool moment that I saw. Alicia's posted a bunch of pics. You can check them out at lcwarriors.com, or you can check out the LC Warriors Twitter page or Facebook page. I think they're on there as well. And go check out all of that. But congratulations to the golf team, especially the men, for tying for the team win. And Devin Caruso, listen, you come on our show, you do great things.
Exactly. Doesn't matter who you are, you do great things.
We're going to take full credit. Let's skip WSU. That's such a joke. Idaho was on a bye week, which was a better week than what WSU had.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eastern Washington went out and they crushed Southern Utah 50-21. They go to 4-0, and we will talk more about Eastern Washington here in just a minute. But let's get into some college football. What was your biggest takeaway from this week?
Another Clemson loss.
What is happening there?
It's like Sweeney can't get his team to do anything. I just don't know. I mean, they've now slipped down. I believe their new ranking is right at 10. Ohio State.
They have to be worse than
as
10.
11.
There's no way that they lost to North Carolina State and they're 10th.
I'm almost positive. When I looked at it,
they're 25th.
Okay.
There's zero chance with 2 losses.
Oh, Florida was up there. Okay. I remember looking at one of them, yeah. But Ohio State, how is Ohio State still sneaking around at 11? You know, it'll be interesting to see.
They lost the one game to a team that's in the top 4.
Yeah, and we'll talk about them here in a minute, but how about Oregon?
We'll get into Oregon, yeah.
It's just going to be all over. But for me, I think it's Clemson, you know, for a team that has been very dominant over the last few years. And all of a sudden,
a big home run. Richie just went, wow.
Oh, well. He's still playing down. He was at Hell's Kitchen today in Las Vegas, so he's still on vacation.
It's a very expensive place. I think we talked about it on the summer show.
Yeah,
it's a very expensive place. Oh, I didn't want to actually watch the game.
We're actually the wife and I are trying to plan stuff, and I think we're going to look at going there too. But I don't know. It's save lots of money.
That's all I can say. Save up.
Which game stood out for you? The college group.
Wrote down. I'm trying to figure out the home run now. Hold on. Give me a second.
Oh, jeez.
And then it gave me the wrong game. MLB.com. I'm clicking on the right thing, and you're giving me the wrong stuff. Oh, of course, it was Stanton. Stanton with the 3-run bomb is what was for the wow. Mine was what I thought was going to be a fun game, and I was disappointed because it was the game that gave you the weekly win. And if you look at the final score, it looked like a complete blowout. 41-13.
Mm-hmm.
But going into the fourth quarter, it was tied 10-10. Notre Dame had lost their quarterback. And then Notre Dame scored 31 points.
Right.
I had to go do something and came back, and they were up like 20-something. And it was tied when I had to run and go do something. I was like, what happened? That was my game. Just a complete shock of a fourth quarter between 2 very good teams. And I know we have Notre Dame that we're going to pick here shortly, but they legit?
I don't know. You know, I looked at that earlier today, and I talked to another guy this afternoon during football practice, one of the other coaches with me, and we were talking about Notre Dame. we're a little worried now that he's down. We looked at the line. We'll talk about the line here in a few minutes, but it changed substantially from yesterday to today for that game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm sure it's quarterback related.
Yeah, and I think it was a 6.5 point swing. That's how.
Yeah, so it's definitely they were thinking the starter would come back for the next week, and it doesn't.
I don't think it will be.
All right, let's get into some college pick'em. Like I said, Robert, you did win last week. You went 3-2. I went 2-3. So our overall season totals: I'm 13-11-1. You are 11-13-1. So it's still very, very close. Plenty of time to go.
I should have had that win against Appalachia State, but I didn't.
No.
I know Appalachia State only won by 1. They did not cover the spread, so yes, that is.
I love that. I was like, I thought I picked them to win, but not cover. That's not how these picks work.
I
against the spread.
I should have said straight up, but I didn't.
Even if you said straight up, I'm not picking. I won't give you the credit for it.
Well, I gotta try. I like.
This is not the kickoff on W2M.net where you pick and you get credit for the straight up win and the against the spread. Which, by the way, again, I was on that show last week,
and they didn't record it. They recorded it. They recorded it because some other. They talked about Lucifer. They talked about the Lucifer thing in there. So
Ratlich was doing his stuff, and I think they've now learned that you can record 2 different things at the same time on StreamYard. They all use one big account.
Right.
But I was on there. My picks were awesome.
Yeah,
I got my eliminator pick right. I took Marshall in that one, so I didn't win it straight up, unfortunately, but I got it against the spread, and I took the easy one last Sunday night where the Packers were a dog by 3.5. That was the easiest pick in the world that almost didn't work out for me. That was actually a point where I had a chance to win both games against the spread, but lose both of them straight up.
Right.
It was fantastic.
All right, so with me getting the win this week, going 3-2, I got to pick the games, and there are a lot of games this week in the college side.
I'm glad you had to pick only 5 out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we could have went so many different directions. So I did pick a Friday game so we could watch a little bit and watch that. So
gives me something to do on at work.
There you go. Number 5, Iowa is taking on Maryland, who likes to change their helmets like Oregon does all the time. Right now, Iowa is a 3.5 point favorite. Who you got?
Do you know who the quarterback is for Maryland?
I do not.
To his younger brother.
Okay.
He's been fantastic.
Can you say his last? Can you say his last?
Tagovailoa.
Okay.
I practiced that a lot on the other shows. All right. I got that one down. There's other names I cannot say. I can say that one. Maryland's been fantastic. Iowa is a playoff team for sure, but shorter week. On the road, when whatever weird concoction of a jersey that Maryland's going to run.
Right.
Give me the Terrapins.
Yeah, I just think Iowa is just going to be too much. They've got a chance to move up in those rankings and be one of those top 4. So, and 3.5 is more than enough to cover. So give me Iowa.
Okay.
The second game we took is the first morning game, ESPN, and I think this might be one of the, if not the best game of the entire weekend. Number 8, Arkansas at number 2, Georgia. Right now, the line is 18.5.
So high. I don't understand.
18.5. That is just
Did I
crazy.
miss news with Arkansas?
I don't know, but I mean,
did they lose half their team after they dominated against Texas A&M? I don't understand.
It just does not make a sense.
But when the line doesn't make any sense, Vegas knows something we don't. I'm going to take Georgia.
All right.
I'm giving up the 18.5 still.
I don't think, as much as Georgia, I think is still going to win outright, but I think 18.5 is just way too much. So give me Arkansas with the points, and we'll go there. But Georgia ends up winning this game. So we move mid-afternoon game on Peacock and NBC. Number 7, Cincinnati, who I've been on for a couple of years now. Cincinnati will take on number 9, Notre Dame. Listen, we talked about this a few minutes ago.
Yes.
It was a 6.5 point swing in points from yesterday to today, because yesterday Notre Dame was favored by 4. Now they are dogs by 2.5. Right now, Cincinnati 2.5 points on that one. Who you got?
I'm taking Notre Dame. Their backup quarterback was in at the end of that Wisconsin game. They still went wild. I'm going to trust the defense. Give me the Fighting Irish.
Listen, I'm going to, until Cincinnati loses bad enough that we don't want to talk about them anymore. I think Cincinnati is just that team. Give me Cincinnati. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to pull it out. We get to the first early afternoon game. Number 3 Oregon, I think, is the easiest one that I put on here. Number 3 Oregon at Stanford. That is an ABC game at 12:30. Right now, Oregon is giving Stanford 8. Who do you got?
It's still too early in the year for the Pac-12 to shoot their chance at making the playoffs by having a big upset. So I'm going to take Oregon.
Yeah, I think Oregon is just way too strong and go against your trees and that. So, and
we'll talk about that in a little bit.
The big one for me, and I put it in here, and I think I did it for Paulie too, because we love our buddy Paulie, who is an Eastern Washington fan. Montana, who is 3-0, will be on the road to Cheney, up to Roos Field,
which means I will not be watching.
I love that field. I love that field.
Well, maybe we'll do that draft next week.
They are traveling to Eastern Washington, who is now 4-0.
And there's no line, so
no
I let
line
you
yet.
make it up. So this is a Robert Hagen Vegas line.
Right now, for me, it is a line that I am comfortable with. I think it's going to be close. I gave Eastern the 3 points just because they are at home.
And then I could have typed Eastern Washington any faster.
Listen, I will give you the reason why I'm taking this one, but who do you got in this game?
Eastern Washington.
All right.
I typed that as fast as possible.
There you go.
The line of 3.
Listen, I'm taking Montana. Here's the reason why, and it'll blow your mind and might make you change your mind. Montana has given up a total of 31 points in 5 games.
That's cool.
31 points.
Yeah.
They gave up 3 last week.
I'll bet you a drink at bowling on Sunday, even though I don't drink, that Eastern Washington puts up at least 31 points this week.
You think so?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So give me Montana. I'm going to take that one, even though I'm giving Eastern Washington the favorite of 3 points. But that one I'm excited for because it is on ESPN2. They flexed that game to the ESPN2 spot. So if you were watching, that is the late game. And I think probably it will be a great game. So
I'm in the casino that night, so it's
I'm sorry.
TVs. All right, you set up our guest. I'll do our deal. You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. You can also check us out on klcz.com and the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. And that is where you can interact with us while you didn't set her up at all. I asked you to get her set up.
What am I supposed to? What am I?
What a terrible guest.
Listen.
I can't handle people, but we have.
Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? I think you watched Addie.
I'm a Jets fan. Yeah. I wake up on the wrong side of the bed every day, and it was leg day today, and I can't move.
It was funny watching you walk over to get your
drink. You should have seen me come up the stairs. All right, it's horrible right now.
I think you ran into the magic mirrors up at the fair one too many times.
It's probably true.
I think Addie ran you into the mirrors a couple of times.
But we have Jada Wyms with us. Thank you so much, Jada, for hanging out with us. And congratulations for being the Cascade Conference Attacker of the Week. How does that feel?
It feels really nice, actually, getting the recognition. This is just a reflection of the strides we've made as a team, so it feels really nice to be recognized in that way.
Yeah, a fantastic game on Friday against Warner Pacific. 18 kills, 6 blocks. Were you trying to tell your teammates to let them come back even farther and go to 5 sets so you could break 20?
No. No, it was a really fun game. It was really fun to compete and use the tools that we've worked on in practice this past weekend, actually. So it was a really fun game.
I've been having so much fun calling the home games this year, and I don't know how many times you've just made me say nonsense on the radio because of the angle that you can get on your spikes. You're 5'8",
yep,
right? You jump up and it feels like somebody's 7'10", mm-hmm. and just straight down. How do you do it?
I don't know. Lots of years of practice, I guess.
Well, one thing that you said a minute ago, and I'm kind of in that same boat, is getting to do PA work for LC and announcing with you guys. is just watching how this team plays together. And you said team, and it clearly shows with this group of girls. There isn't a girl on this team that is about one person. I mean, it is all about you guys. Talk about the chemistry that you guys have.
I think chemistry is a big thing this year. All of the girls, we love each other. We get along with the coaching staff. We're really appreciative of them. But one of the main things that we focused on was just team connection, team culture. And I think it shows in the way we've played. We love each other on and off the court. I wouldn't trade them for anyone else in the world. And it's really fun just being friends off the court, but also knowing that the person next to you has your back and you don't have to worry about that. So
now, how much time do you guys spend together? I know, if we talk about, classes with a lot of these guys, and then you move into, practice and back into class, how much time do you guys spend together? Do you practice in the morning, then class, and then back into practice more in the afternoon? What does a day in the life of Jada Wyms look like?
Well, we wake up pretty early for practice. We have weights and then we have practice, so that's anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours. Then we get ready for our day at school. I have a class with a couple of my teammates, and even after class, we just get together and hang out outside of school, just doing team activities, fun activities like bowling, board games, things like that. So we do spend a lot of time together.
And the one side activity that they do, like every time out, or the hour of warm-ups and stuff that I always just laugh at, is like the dance competition you guys just start breaking out into during the games. I think Racia is the one that starts most of them.
Yeah.
But just I love the connection that you girls all have.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. We're definitely not rehearsing or anything when we dance. It's just a way to show that we're enjoying ourselves and having fun with one another.
You saying that because Kinsey comes over to the table a few times now, and she makes her way over to the table. She says, "Can you turn that up? Can you switch that one song just a little bit?" And it's not me that gets to play it. I did the one night, but it's funny, just the energy they bring pregame. It is just unbelievable, back and forth and serving, laughing, and it's just it doesn't feel tense at all. It's just about being loose and free and running around. So,
and it reminds me, I just had to look at the schedule to remind myself that the team you guys are playing, but about a week and a half ago when you guys played Northwest in that fantastic 5-set match that was going back and forth, I messaged Robert because Robert was working on a football game, but I could not believe it that both teams come out and they're playing that cha-cha song or whatever. I'm aging myself because I don't even know the title of it, but both teams come out getting ready for the 5th set of this fantastic match that you guys are going on. And the moment it says do the cha-cha, everyone on the court did it, including the girl that was still bouncing the ball serving. It was, I haven't watched a ton of volleyball in my life. This is probably the most in one time that I have. It's a lot of, you guys, at least you guys make it a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think volleyball is a very mental sport, but it's very important that we have fun at the end of the day. We can't play tense, we can't play stressed. We gotta make sure that we're staying loose and staying positive, and I think that goes a long way on the court.
Speaking of the stress and having fun, you guys played Warner Pacific on Friday, and give full credit to that team. They showed up with just 7 girls and dealing with whatever going on with. But I talked to Jess Ruffing after the match, and she said there was some trash talk going on. I don't know if you got any of that too. I was just going to ask if there was any examples that were allowed on the radio.
I didn't hear of anything. Normally in volleyball games, I just keep my head down and try to grind through.
Well, they probably weren't trash talking you because of what you did to them, but
no, I definitely didn't hear anything. But that's interesting.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. You were talking about that a minute ago with the whole team, and I want to say it was last Saturday against Evergreen. After you guys were all done, both teams came together and chatting and having a good time, and it just feels so loose. Is that just the culture thing that Coach Pullman brings into it? I mean, is that instilling, or is that just from the heart of you guys? I mean, and the character of all the players.
I think you give credit to both. Coach Pullman has done an amazing job with setting a foundation for his standards for our team. and everyone's on board. I think that's super important, but also just individually, we have an amazing group of girls. Everyone's so caring, so loving, and we really hope the best for each other, not just in volleyball, but just as people. And I think that's super important in any sports program, especially our volleyball team.
So listen, let's talk. I love to dive in because I work for school districts. Let's talk a little bit of high school. Where are you from? What did you do as a high school player? Did you do any other sports?
Yeah, I went to a private school in Layton, Utah, Layton Christian Academy. I was actually a multi-sport athlete. I played volleyball, basketball, and ran track along with club volleyball. So very busy schedule in high school.
So was there one of those sports? Did you do track just to stay active, or was it one of your favorite ones?
More so for my friends. A lot of friends that I played volleyball with also played basketball and ran track. So it was fun time to spend time with them. But I'd say volleyball was my main sport throughout high school.
Yeah, you voted all region in your area down there, also a member of Honor Society. But your trip here did not start at LC.
No.
You played a couple years at Western. How was it playing there at Western?
It was super fun at Western. Rock Springs is kind of in the middle of nowhere, so we had to make our own fun. But I loved my coach. I loved my teammates there, and I don't think I would be at LC if it weren't for them. So I'm really appreciative.
So then did you get recruited from LC while you're playing there?
Actually, a funny story. One of our coaches from our conference in Wyoming was a prior assistant coach to Coach Pullman. And I guess they got to talking and my name came up and he said, "Do you have a middle for this next year?" Coach Pullman said no and gave him my contact information, and here I am.
So you're majoring in English and you're senior here at LC. What are the plans after this year?
I'm looking to go to grad school, get my master's in English. I want to be a writer. I'm eventually, really passionate about sharing my experience as a Black woman in America and giving others that same platform to use their voices. And that's my plan.
Very cool. So we also we did talk about being attacker of the week last week. What are you looking forward to going into this next weekend, with it being a tough weekend? Number 7, Corbin, also Bushnell.
Mm-hmm.
What are you girls going in thinking mindset here for this next weekend?
Mindset wise, I think we're going in focusing on the things that we can control, regardless of who's on the other side of the net. I think that's worked wonders for us in the past. And even though it might be some tough competition, I think it mainly comes down to how we show up, our mindset going in there, and whether or not we want to compete. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and I'm still really bummed.
I know.
As the play-by-play guy, I don't get to go on the road because I have to watch it somewhere. I'm very disappointed. I've complained all week, but I wish you guys luck for that weekend for sure. All right, let's get into some fun questions. We do this with every guest that we have, just some rapid fire questions for you. Let people get to know Jada Wyms. So I had to change the questions a little bit because you were I forget what it was called now, which is the player of the week or something for the program. So I had all of your other questions on there. So I changed it up a little bit. But I think one that was on there that I have to ask anyways, because Robert and I are not afraid of food. But, favorite food?
I love seafood. Anything seafood, crab, shrimp, combination of both. Love seafood.
One of my weaknesses for sure.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Let me tell you about a story about a man over in Seattle at the crab pod.
That next morning was rough. How about favorite movie?
Favorite movie would have to be Forrest Gump.
Classic.
Was it another volleyball player that said that, or was it somebody last week that said Forrest Gump?
I think
is that just a volleyball thing?
I don't know. I just love the movie.
I know we've heard that recently. That another guest that we had said Forrest Gump was their favorite.
Do you guys do movie night or something after practice?
We do, but I don't think Forrest Gump has been on the list.
Well, there you go. You
better
gotta
be
add
on the
it.
list now.
Better add it. All right. How about your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, my biggest pet peeve. I'd say when I can hear someone chewing very loudly.
That's exactly what she said last week.
Yeah, what
Riley Brown said last week.
Maybe she said Forrest Gump too.
It was weird. All right. So you are from Utah. So what's your favorite place and least favorite place here in the Valley?
Let's see.
We don't have to trash a place.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite and least favorite part about
Oh,
the Valley,
okay. Well, you know.
I love the river. I think the Lewiston River is super pretty. I don't think I have the least favorite. I don't think I've been out there far enough or long enough. But Lewiston's beautiful from as far as I can see. So nothing bad yet.
How about favorite sports team? Do you follow anybody specific?
Ooh, my family's big on football, and my dad's from Chicago, so I have to go with the Bears all the way.
So sorry for the season so far, but,
yeah,
but as a Jets fan, congratulations on being better than us. That's about all I can say.
How about your favorite LCSC teacher?
Oh, that's a tough one. I love my professors.
They all say that like they think people are listening. No, but they don't listen to the show. You can be honest. It's okay.
My favorite professor is Marlo De Galliano. Yep. Love her.
All right, so now we're going to switch gears just a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about your teammates.
Okay.
So we'll throw out a name for a teammate. Give us a 1 or a 2-word description of this teammate. So we'll start with Lexi Trowbridge.
Lexi is funny and blunt.
Nothing wrong with that. I mentioned her name a few minutes ago. How about Kinsey Cloward?
Kinsey is lovable and goofy.
I can see that. I can see that.
How about Channa Hart?
Channa Hart, caring and high energy. She's the hype man of the team.
Her dad had me laughing all weekend.
Yeah.
He was like 3 rows behind me for both games.
Yeah.
And just the comments he would shout out to you girls throughout points. I'm like, okay. Very supportive. I love the support that you guys have.
Yeah, I think a lot of our parents came this past weekend, so it was really nice getting that support. And it wasn't just for their daughter that's out there; it's for everyone. Mm-hmm. So it was super nice having that support.
That's another thing that I have noticed while I'm setting up, and they always trick me at first. I think they're waving at me, but it's for somebody more important that's behind me. But somebody will come in, and as the whole team just turns and waves because they just know everybody, and it's usually somebody's parent,
right?
And it was like the whole team's like, "Hi, Mom."
Yeah, added to him. How about Gracia Enriquez?
That was
Gracia. Gracia's a dancer, so I'll say dancer for her.
No, we've.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Seen that a lot.
How about Sean Pullman?
Sean Pullman. Are there enough words to describe Sean Pullman? He is very supportive, very caring. He's funny, kind of awkward, but we love him for it.
That's one thing, being sitting right next to him during the game. And I know we're within, 6 feet of him, but even him in between each point, getting up and coaching in the middle of the game is just crazy compared to what you're used to seeing. He's always got a suggestion. And that's the one thing I love about watching him. I can't wait to get him on the show. We talked about him coming on the show, and I'm excited to get him on here.
And then the last one, we do this to everybody, but Jada Wyms.
Jada Wyms. Happy to be here. I don't know.
That works. We'll take it. It's always one of the hard questions that we throw at somebody here. But thank you so much for spending some time with us and being able to talk about your high school life and the season so far. And again, best of luck this weekend. I know it's 2 really, really big games. I'm going to do everything I can to tune in, and I hope everyone else does as well. I'm sad I won't be there, but Jada, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. That is Jada Wyms, the Cascade Conference Attacker of the Week last week, and the volleyball group will be heading out to take on Corbin Friday night, 7 p.m., and then Bushnell on Saturday. So anyway, you can try to listen to it. Well, I hope we can do so. So thank you for joining us tonight. Those girls, they just love to have a good time out on the court. It doesn't matter, like you were saying, they dance around. They're so much fire, and it's great to watch.
Such focus. Once that point gets on, they can still turn it on. And I've talked to several of the players now after Wyms, And I get the same kind of messaging from all of them that Sean Pullman has taught them this year, especially compared to last year, is like just keep playing your game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Their issues last year were, they would lose a few points and then they get down and then they would try to change their strategies. Like, no, just keep playing your game. You're going to go on runs. That's kind of the way volleyball is you'll get on these kind of runs. And it's been great to see how they've been able to gel. And again, it's a very big weekend for Warrior volleyball this weekend. And they will be on the road this weekend and next weekend before being able to come back at home for the only time you can see them in the entire month of October. Mm-hmm. They only have 4 home games left.
Yeah, 16th, I think, is my next one I get to see. I think it's 15th and 16th that...
It is, yes, 15th and 16th against Eastern Oregon on Friday and College of Idaho on Saturday. Those will be 2 good games as well. Now they got Oregon Tech and Southern Oregon in between both of those weekends. So good luck to the volleyball team for sure. But let's get into the Pac-12, which leads us to the return of the greatest segment in all of sports history, the most original segment in sports history that has never been done before. Randy's Believe It or Not. I'll give you a statement, and you got to tell me whether you believe it or not. I know it's very complicated, but I think I broke it down and helped you understand well enough.
All right.
Are you ready?
I hope so. All
right.
Is there a test afterwards?
Do I need
to take?
This is it's a pop quiz.
All right.
That should be another segment. Maybe that's trivia.
Listen,
really.
I'm. The state is having us do SBA testing, so we're doing state testing right now. 5 full days of school, and then we get to do it all over again in April again.
Yay!
Don't get me started on the state test.
All right, let's worry about the crappy Pac-12.
All right.
Believe it or not, Oregon will remain undefeated and make the playoffs.
Listen, there's only one game in this entire schedule for Oregon that I would be anywhere close to concerned about, and that would be going, thinking about 3 weeks when they take on UCLA. I think that's the only team that could really throw a wrench in them going undefeated.
Listen, I said earlier that Pac-12 loves to shoot themselves in the foot.
Right.
By beating the one team that has a chance to make the playoffs. So, yes, they play UCLA on the road on October 23rd. But watch out for them to lose to Washington or Utah. Just some random road game late in the season to just blow everything up. I will say I do not believe it. I forget, did you say you did believe it or not? You just are worried about that one?
I think that's the only one that I'm worried about. I think there's a very strong chance that they can go undefeated.
All right, believe it or not, Arizona is the worst FBS team in the country.
Wow. When was the last time that they have won? That's the question. I would lean probably yes. I'm going to say yes. I think they just.
Well, usually it's Kansas, and Kansas is having an okay season this year.
Yeah.
But you look at the losses for Arizona. Yes, they lost to Oregon last week. No shame there. We lose 41-19. Week 1, they lose to BYU by 8. They lost to San Diego State by 24. And then they lost to Northern Arizona of the Big Sky.
Right.
They're not good.
No.
I believe it. I believe they are the worst team in the FBS. Believe it or not, Washington State will not win another game until they nail down the starting quarterback role.
I think that's a very true statement. I mean, even though that Utah game should have been a game they could have easily won and stayed out in front, but jumping back and forth between Cooper and Guantaro, I mean, until they figure out exactly, and then what's going on with Delora? I don't want to, come in for how many plays in the second half and then go right back out. So I think you're 100% on that one. They will not win it until Rolovich finally says, this is our starter, and that's it.
When you have more than one quarterback, you have no quarterback. So that's the old adage, and I totally agree with it here, and I believe it. The last, believe it or not, the Pac-12 needs to expand to 16 teams and include 2 Mountain West teams and 2 Big Sky teams.
Wow.
Because they can't beat either of them.
No. But if you look at that, who would you add in there? You could easily say, okay, we could add Montana and we could add Eastern, or you could say Montana State and Eastern. But I think with Montana Eastern, that would be two great ones. And then you look at Mountain West, you'd add Boise State.
I think Boise State would be perfect.
Yeah.
I think Fresno State would be perfect.
I think
if you want to go for bigger school, I don't know who's bigger. Is it Fresno State? Nevada is a bigger school, maybe.
I really think it's going to come.
If you're a Pac-12 team, do you just want to go to Hawaii every year? So you bring them up?
I think the big decision is going to happen once all this shifting happens in 2025. I mean, there's a strong chance with them, the Big 12 and everybody moving and shifting. I wouldn't be half surprised if it doesn't shift and some of these smaller schools start getting added into them. So do I think it happens within the next year or so? No, but I think it could easily happen by 2025, 2026 when everything else goes down.
All right, let's get into some Major League Baseball. Let's get to the scoreboard first because there are a lot of things riding on these scores. And now that I've looked at them, oh my goodness. Already finals. The Mets sweep the Marlins in doubleheader today. They won their game 1 5-2, won game 2 2-1. Pirates beat the Cubs 8-6. The Braves beat the Phillies, which is huge. The Phillies, I felt, needed to possibly even sweep this series to have a chance at the NL East. The Braves won game 1 2-1, and the Baltimore Orioles defeat the Boston Red Sox 4-2. Which could jam-pack everything compared to what happens here in the rest of these games. But right now, in the top of the 9th inning, the Yankees on that 3-run home run by Giancarlo Stanton lead the Blue Jays 6-2. You should be happy about that, I think, as a Mariner fan. Twins are beating the Tigers 3-0 in the bottom of the 8th. Cardinals refuse to lose.
Listen.
I'll do that whole packed Pacific Northwest crap. Cardinals leading 6-2 and going to the bottom of the 8th. Rangers over the Angels 4-2 in the top of the 7th. Royals over the Indians 4-3 in the bottom of the 6th. The Rays beating the Astros in a possible ALCS matchup 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th. White Sox over the Reds 5-1 in the bottom of the 7th. We're on a show, Robert. Learn how to turn your phone off.
It's just the ringer. They're trying to call me about training. I don't want to do any training.
Rockies over the Nationals 2-0 in the middle of the 6th. And early on right now, Giants over the Diamondbacks 1-0 in the top of the 2nd. And then scoreless between the Padres and Dodgers and Athletics and the Mariners. So that is your score update. I'm trying to pull up the crazy stats. And I don't know if they're no longer valid. But let's look at the AL wildcard right now.
Okay.
And I didn't send this to you for a reason. Because I wanted to get your reaction live. So Mariners beat Oakland last night, right?
Right.
Okay.
8-2 over the last 10. So
here is what needs to happen if you want a 5-way tie for the 2 wild cards. It is possible. The Yankees have to go 1-5 with 1 win against Toronto.
Right.
So if they hold on to this 4-run lead right now in the 9th, they would have to lose out the rest of the way for this to happen. Boston would have to go 2-4. So they lost today. So now they have to go 2-3 the rest of the way. Toronto has to go 3-3. And 2 of those wins have to come against the Yankees. Seattle has to go 4-2, but with only 1 win against Oakland. And they got that yesterday.
Right.
So now Oakland has to win these next 2. And Oakland, since they lost yesterday, has to win out. If all of those things happen, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, and the Athletics have a 5-way tie for 2 wild card spots. And by the way, there is no 5-team contingency in the baseball playbook. They have it up to 4.
Right.
Yankees right now are in that top wild card spot. I'm rooting for this.
Yeah, it'd be crazy to see that. I mean, it would be nuts. But I just the way the Mariners are playing right now, they've won 8 of the last 10. They have looked really good. Do they lose one against Oakland? I think they're going to end up losing one against Oakland.
They got to lose 2,
but they have to lose 2 of them. But they still got to go 4. And you look at the schedule over the next few days as
who do the Mariners?
The Mariners end up finishing up against the Angels. So I mean, they have a chance of running the table. I think more for me is what Boston does. Yeah, Boston loses.
Baltimore is big.
Well, and then it gets even crazier with the Nationals. I mean, they have a favorable matchup to win that. You, on the other hand, have to at home against Tampa Bay. I mean,
might not be playing for anything.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a huge thing too. So I mean, there are so many different combinations to watch over the next 5 days.
Thank you, American League. For saving this final week, because National League just about done.
I mean, National League looks like garbage. I mean, but I think for me, the biggest thing to watch, and it has come down to it, is that final week. It's going to look crazy coming in, watching Atlanta and what they can do, because you look at that club, they're still sitting in the East right now.
Yeah, now 3.5 up.
3.5
numbers down to 3.
Right.
So,
but like you said, Philly still has a very good chance of.
Right.
It'll be interesting. I think they might just be out, but I don't want to play the Cardinals right now.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to win their 17th game here in just a few minutes, and especially against the Milwaukee Brewers, who have played unbelievable ball all year long.
Absolutely. It's crazy what is happening going into playoff time, and at least the wild card, again, for the American League is keeping things interesting, as the Rays have already won their division, White Sox have won theirs, the Astros, listen, you're a Mariners fan, your elimination number is 2. Do you have any hope?
I always
stop it.
Yes, I have hope, but a lot's got to happen between New York and Boston, I think. And
I'm just saying AL West. I'm just saying AL West as far as the division goes. I think that division's over.
I don't.
With the Phillies losing their elimination numbers down to 3, I think that one's basically done. It's still 2 games between the Giants and Dodgers, so that could be interesting. But both wild cards are now locked up, Dodgers and Cardinals. So the NL is basically set almost at this point. It's just down to those 2 wild card teams in the American League.
Is it a possibility for the Mariners? I mean, they've got a slim chance, but Houston is taking on Tampa Bay for the next 2, and then you got to pull for Oakland to knock off Houston.
At that point, they would be out of it. So.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like this is what playoff baseball should be about. Talking into the final week of everything going on.
I agree. Right now, as it stands this second, the Yankees have a 1.5 game lead over Boston for that top wild card spot. Boston is in the second spot. Toronto is currently a half game back, but it could go back to a game, as it looks like they will be losing to the Yankees. Mariners are just 1 game back.
Right.
Oakland is 3 back. So it is very, very, very interesting. It's sad that the Yankees are in the perfect spot, and I just want chaos. I just want chaos so much. But let's get into some MVP debate. We were going to do this last week, and then we just had so much going on, and we had the 2 guests, and we just ran out of time. Easiest thing to cut. Now we're into the final week, and we'll get into this as our final look. But just real quick, just for some fun, do you remember who we picked at the start of the season?
At the start of the season, that was so many days ago. That was 156 games ago, 57 games ago.
I'll go through it. We're not going to talk Cy Young this week. We'll talk Cy Young next week. But we'll just go over what we picked and just see if you have any chance. So let's look at the AL Cy Young. I took Garrett Cole.
Right.
I think it's possible.
Yep.
I don't know if he is top spot right now. I think it's Robbie Ray. But I think it's between Robbie Ray and Garrett Cole.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And you took Shane Bieber, who just can never stay healthy.
No, that's the problem. He spent more time on the on the IL than he did anything.
Speaking of can't stay healthy for the NL Cy Young, I took Jacob deGrom, who has now been announced that he will not pitch again this year, which makes sense because they completely imploded. And you took Trevor Bauer. How do you feel about your Bauer pick?
Let me tell you.
And what is going on in that man's life right now?
Yeah, I don't even want to attempt to go into what that guy's going through in his life.
For the MVPs, for the National League, I took Mookie Betts. It's been an okay year, nothing crazy. And you took Tatis, who looked like the surefire MVP until about a month ago. I don't think either of us are going to pick him as our MVP now.
No.
A week ago.
No.
And the AL MVP, I picked Jose Ramirez, who, like Mookie Betts, has had a very solid year. I don't think he's in the race at all. And you took Mike Trout, which, the AL MVP is basically the Mike Trout Award, so I don't blame you for that. But again, just could not stay healthy. So let's go to the National League MVP that we think. Is it locked in your opinion? Are you bouncing around right now? Who is your pick right now, and is it 100% locked?
Well, who I had last week going into the segment we were going to do last week is who you're taking right now, and I'm all on board with. It could be either one of these two guys, but I'm going to lean Trey Turner. I mean, he doesn't have the big, huge home run numbers or the RBI numbers, but he's been consistent with the bat. 322. Give me Trey Turner. 322, 25 home runs, 66 RBIs. He's been consistent when he's been out on the field. I just think he had that one little stint where he was out, and so
the National League MVP is so hard this year because your one big breakout team was the Giants, but that was such a team effort that there's no one on that team that you can pick.
Right.
The Dodgers have 75 different stars, so none of them really stood out. I mean, Turner obviously getting traded to the Dodgers,
right,
and has definitely helped them. Milwaukee, again, that was more of a team effort thing than anything. Is there somebody on the Cardinals that could have made this ridiculous run and all of a sudden are going to win the MVP? Probably not. Again, the Braves basically was a team effort after the Acuna injury. So I'm going to go Bryce Harper, even though it's now looking like the Phillies won't make the playoffs. But he's had a fantastic year, 313 batting average, 34 home runs, getting about to 100 runs on the year, 82 RBIs. Has a very good year, but the NL MVP is so this year.
And I had Bryce Harper last week on the thing, and I could easily see him. You talked a little bit about here a second ago. Could somebody from St. Louis make a push? You could easily say maybe Tyler O'Neill, maybe Arenado, 34 home runs, 105 RBIs, but only batting 256. So I mean, for me, I think I would want a guy that's a little bit more consistent on getting on base, a few more hits. Not saying in the slugging category, anything like that. I just don't see anybody. I mean, they've been playing well over the last few weeks. I just, like you said, it could be anybody on a coin flip almost. Put all their names on a deck of cards, shuffle them up, and let's just draw one out.
So according to sportsbettingdime.com, which is where I go to because they have this cool graph of what the average odds are for different awards, and they kind of show you the trends. They have it as a 3-person race for NL MVP. They have Bryce Harper at minus 293, which if you were betting in Vegas, which again, we do not support, we're not promoting, it's just a way to explain the possibilities. You would have to bet $293 to win 100 for that. So he is the favorite. Tatis is still second at plus 325, so bet 100 to win 325. And Juan Soto, the sole survivor of the Nationals, is at plus 460. Turner is fourth, but he's at plus 5,250. Then you have Muncy, Austin Riley, and Freddie Freeman from Atlanta, and Paul Goldschmidt. But Goldschmidt, if you bet $100, you could win $10,000. But so that's not likely. The American League, it's a 2-person race, straight up.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's a one-person race, but it's not who you picked. So it's a
honestly,
two-person race for this.
I could see 3.
Give me the third.
Salvador Perez.
He is
46,
terribly
277.
undervalued for the MVP. I do agree.
277. He's slugging 549. He's got 47 home runs, 118 RBIs. He could easily be in, because right now he's leading the MLB in RBIs by 5 over Jose Abreu.
Again, according to sportsbettingdime.com, they have Salvador Perez at a plus 20,000.
That's just nuts.
So he
he's
is
got a great
undervalued.
chance. I think so
for
too.
sure, but he is not compared to these other two.
Yeah.
So give me your one who is going to finish second.
And that's probably what's going to happen. I think is what's going to happen. Give me Vlad Guerrero, 315, 46 home runs, 105 RBIs. He just seems to be that heartbeat right now for Toronto. I mean, Toronto has went through so much stuff. Finally getting to be back home playing. Bichette has been really good for that ball club too this year. I'm going to fall behind because I think we're both 100% on board who I think is going to win it. I would love to see Guerrero to win it or Perez win it, but it's not going that way.
It's Shohei Ohtani. He won this months ago, and he has done nothing to lose it. Yes, he's gone through some streaks hitting-wise. He's batting 258. He's 1 home run behind behind Guerrero. He is 7 RBIs behind Guerrero. But how many strikeouts does Vlad have on the mound? Right. Just the fact that Ohtani's 9-2 with a 3.18 ERA and 156 strikeouts and 130 innings, on top of hitting 45 home runs and being 1 run and 2 RBIs away from hitting triple digits in both of those stats, he is locked.
So I will give you the stat that's going to put it over the top. The other 2 guys have 5 total combined. Shohei has 24 stolen bases.
That's not the stat.
I know. I think it will.
Pitching. That's what's
well,
it is not
they need to
close
pull
enough.
that out.
It is not close enough where stolen bases mean anything.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not as what it used to be. I mean, it's not the Ricky Henderson, but I think if you add that stat in with those guys, you're going to bump him well above the other 2.
That's what I'm saying. I think Ohtani is already well above. Let's do our quick roundup. My player of the week, I had to go homer, and it's not even player of the week, it's player of the weekend.
Yeah.
And then he went nuts again. He already hit a home run. He just hit a double in the 9th inning as the Yankees have pulled out another run, 7-2 in the 9th. But Giancarlo Stanton, just in the 3 games against Boston, in the big 3-game sweep that was huge for the Yankees, he goes 7 of 12, 3 home runs, and 10 RBIs. Again, that's not in the week.
Yeah.
That's just in the 3 games. So he's my player of the week.
Yeah, and that was kind of a no-brainer. But I'm going to go to the other side of into the other league, the senior league, the senior circuit. Give me Harrison Bader. I mean, the center fielder for St. Louis, 517, 15 of 29. He does have 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 10 runs. He looks to be he's that guy right now that for St. Louis with Arenado and with O'Neill. It's keeping this ball club going.
Playing like a team.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We're going to skip series to watch to just watch all of the series that involve the AL wild card right now. Check out our power rankings. It'll be the last full power rankings that you will get. I think next week we will give you detailed opinions about the playoff teams and then just list out the rest of them as they don't matter after Sunday. But that will be our last power rankings for baseball on Monday. We might do something as playoffs.
I don't think either one of us changed our top 5s. I think we were the same from last week to this week. I think we both stayed the same.
Top 5 are still the same because it's all based around the wild card.
Right.
All right, let's get into it. I got to pick the helmets last week, which gave you the first pick, and we're just going to keep going back and forth. You stayed college themed.
I did.
I did.
So this week, I caught a little glyph, and you even texted me about this. He's like, this guy, we didn't pick the certain helmet and all that. And so I decided, okay, well, let's go mascot. So I'm going to do the best college mascot.
Okay.
So, and I even thought, okay, do we add basketball and think about it? And I picked one of them that goes both football and basketball.
These
so,
mascots, well, some of them.
Yeah,
two of them that I picked do not.
Right.
For safety reasons, I think, and sanitary reasons, I guess. But I obviously mascots are fun.
Right.
But when the NCAA football game was still a thing, I know it's coming back, but they had the mascot mode, and I watch Ray Navarez sometimes on Twitch, showing that I'm a big giant nerd, and I think twice a year he does just a mascot tournament. He lets the computer face the computer and just laughs at how bad the computer plays each other while these giant mascots run into each other. It's entertaining. But with my first pick, give me Uga. I love a real life mascot. I don't want some nerd in a suit. Give me a bulldog to root for, to cheer on the Bulldogs.
What number Uga are we on now? It's like Uga 25, 26. It's got to be a huge number now, Uga. They've changed the name so many times.
We are on the 10th Uga.
Really? Only 10?
10th Uga. By the way, just as I searched this up, in 2019, Sports Illustrated named Uga the greatest mascot in college football history. I have already won this draft.
All right, yeah. We'll see what everybody says later.
Give me your first.
For me, I kind of lean both basketball and football. You know, they've been a great basketball team.
Just because they don't want Uga on the floor pooping.
Yeah. Give me Sparty from Michigan State. Yeah, I mean,
nerd in a suit.
I know, but it just that look of, you know, that's the guy, the helmet, the whole 9 yards. I just, when I see him, I think, okay, dominant basketball there for a few years, and then they've had an okay football team, not as much here over the last few years, but that mascot, just when I see it, you know exactly that's Michigan State.
Yeah, it's fine. It's still a nerd in a suit. But it's fine.
Did I send you the picture of the collage I put together for this that I'm posting? Yes. Okay, I can't remember if I did.
No, you did for the helmets. I've not seen this one yet.
Yeah, you'll like what I did for your one that's coming up.
Okay, so again, I love the real life mascots, right? Gotta give it go Uga. I had a tough time picking my second one. Which one I wanted to go with.
You took Florida State, right? Just kidding. I had to throw that in there because Doof last week talked about how Florida State. He loves Florida State.
Hey, the mascot is fine, and it fits their team. I like the mascot more than the champ. How about that?
We talked about that the other day too.
But I had a tough pick.
Yes, you did.
As far as real life mascots went, but I went Ralphie the Buffalo for Colorado. Seeing that big Buffalo get just led out onto the field as he runs through to start the game, and then off to wherever they put him. I love it.
You look at the faces of some of those guys holding on for dear life. It just is it's amusing to watch. It's like
please don't go anarchy on us, please, Bull or Buffalo. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, honorable mention for that one is the Oklahoma Sooners when they bring out the
Bevo, right? Yeah, Bevo.
When they bring that out and they bring the schooner out and. You know, the memory of the schooner falling over.
No, that's Texas. Bevo is Texas. Oklahoma is I can't think of the two horses' names.
I'm not sure. So I went, you know, again, I went stupid. I went with a costume. Give me Otto. Seriously. The big orange is from Syracuse University.
Only popular because of ESPN commercials?
I think so. Listen, I wasn't taking Brutus. There was no way I was taking Brutus. I just can't.
Nerd in a suit.
I hate Ohio State. I hate Ohio State that bad. But I went with the orange, and I went Syracuse. I mean, there's just when you watch college basketball, you see that guy floating around on the thing. You know, it's just crazy to watch him. When you see him, you know.
I almost went nerd in the suit with my last pick for that same reason for Syracuse.
Right.
And Big Red from Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
That weird giant thing with the giant mouth. Again, just because you saw him on a bunch of ESPN commercials. But again, I don't like nerds in suits. I want the real thing. So you got a bulldog in Georgia.
Right.
You got a buffalo in Colorado. And somehow Stanford has put a real life tree on their sideline as their mascot.
That's just the goofiest thing you've ever put in. When you sent me
life mascots,
when you put this down there, I about fell out of my chair.
Do you understand
laughing.
how much I laughed at that stupid joke all week?
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I laughed because I was like, what is he thinking?
Real life mascots.
They
put a tree. They just throw a tree on the sideline. It's
all right, let's put this.
And the funny thing is, what I love about Stanford is that they're Cardinal.
Yeah,
they have nothing to do with trees.
That makes absolutely no sense. All right,
you would think the tree would be with the Beavers.
It's something.
Something.
Well, what's your third one? It's as bad as the Ducks having the trees all over their court and for basketball.
It's horrible.
That is going to be another one we take in basketball season. So go ahead. I'm not a fan. I did this for.
I can't blame you because this is a competition. It's an unofficial competition.
Right.
That I think I won last week.
I think you did too. I went old school. So.
Well, no, I think I got nice comments, and you got yelled at for not taking WSU. So now you're playing to the crowd, and I can't blame you for this. So go ahead and play to the crowd.
I'm give me Butch. I put Butch in there. Yeah, it's time that we see him on there as a mascot. But you brought him in. What was it? ESPN was it 5 or 6 years ago when they did that whole big voting thing when they first started, and Butch was up there for the longest time. But I mean, it's the same with college.
WSU fans
I was just saying because it's the same as college game day. What are we at? 270 or 280 continuous, shows with the flag, So, I had to put Butch in there. So that is our best college mascots.
And,
I will post that here tomorrow.
Honorable mention for me, again, live mascots. Mike the Tiger, but he's just never out on the field for LSU. So I couldn't go with him. They at least put the tree out on the field.
If we're gonna do that, I'm going with my number one helmet. Give me the leprechaun. The honorable mention. Give me the leprechaun from.
That is the ultimate nerd in the suit. Because you even get to see the nerd's face.
Yeah.
And listen, people that are out there saying Randy's just calling names, I'm a nerd myself. Yeah. So I think I'm allowed.
Listen, I like give me the little leprechaun from Notre Dame. So that is the best college mascots. Randy will pick next week of the topic that we discuss and do our draft, and I'm kind of interested to see where we go this next week.
Me too. I don't know yet, but it is October.
It is.
Maybe I'll go spooky.
We'll see.
I don't know. Let's get into some sports that don't get enough airtime. Let's get into the grand final, the game that was at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, and I wanted to stay up so bad to watch it, and I wish I had because it was insane.
I got home at 2:00, and it was so hard for me to not stay up and watch it. But there was no way I could go 3 more hours and watch it.
So, go through the first half. Melbourne holding out to a lead. It never really got too bad. I think they crossed 20 points up at one point.
I think so.
Western does a good job of battling back. The Bulldogs come back. They take the lead at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking like a great back and forth grand final. Come out of halftime, and the Bulldogs, I believe, score the first 2 goals, and they're up 19. I think, yeah, they're up 19 halfway through the third quarter. They lost by 74.
Yeah, it was just.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Which I saw, Facebook memories. Thank you so much, but. It's been 10 years since my first grand final that I watched live. And out of the 10 years that I've been an Aussie Rules football fan, I've never seen anything like this where the Bulldogs are up 19. Melbourne would score a goal and then score 2 more goals off the bounce after that goal.
Mm-hmm.
They did that twice in the third quarter where they scored 3 goals in less than a minute.
Yeah, Melbourne was in the lead at the 16.5-minute mark of the third. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, the wheels on the bus just kind of fell off, and it was the whole Melbourne show. It was crazy to see that they ended up winning basically by 54 points, or more than that. 50.
I just said.
Yeah,
74 points.
74 points. It was just nuts to give up that much, and it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Watching and being very new to the sport and watching it only this year, so it just makes me feel more excited for next year. I mean, I wasn't impressed with the halftime show. At least mine recorded. I wasn't too impressed with the halftime show, but I think I found my new sport. I really got into it. So
if you haven't checked out Aussie Rules, you got it. And just shout out to Eric Watkins, who has been on the show. He's a big commenter on the show. He messaged me later in the day after he watched it,
right?
And he gave me 3 words: "We got swarmed," which is exactly true. Which actually reminds me of a story I wanted to bring up before we get into the rest of this stuff. We'll go back to baseball real quick because I'm a nerd. Because I love crazy stats. Do you know what happened on July 21st this year in the MLB record books? Technically, it happened on September 25th. But in the record books, it happened on July 21st.
Is this what you messaged me about? Yeah, I would have never thought of that.
So according to the MLB record books, because the way they handle suspended games,
right,
on July 21st, Adam Duvall's Miami Marlins faced Daniel Hudson's Washington Nationals. And also on July 21st, Adam Duvall's Braves faced Daniel Hudson's Padres, because both players got traded at the deadline from the Marlins and Nationals to the Braves and Padres, and then during the suspended game, they were on those 2 teams that were suspended on July 21st. So they are in box scores for 2 different games for 4 different teams on July 21st.
This is nuts.
Sarah Langs, S. Langs on Sports on Twitter, had tweeted out that there's been 1 prior occurrence in the modern era, so since 1900, of 2 players playing in the same 2 games on the same date, each for a different team. That happened on May 30th, 1922, when the Cubs and Cardinals had a doubleheader. And between the 2 games, St. Louis traded Cliff Heathcote to the Cubs for Max Flack. Each player started for their new team in Game 2 against their old team. Now, we've seen teams during doubleheaders trade, and one guy will come in or whatever, but it's only ever happened those 2 times. Crazy. And this one had 4 teams on it, so it's just even crazier. Ryder Cup was fun.
Dude, to watch Bryson DeChambeau actually play well, and John Rahm, everybody played good.
And then you bring up Bryson.
He played great. He played great. I mean, I know, but it was dominant by Team USA the entire 3 days. So
I love the energy of it. Jordan Spieth on that first day with his crazy shot off the side of the mountain.
Yeah,
was great. Just every time somebody hit a big putt, everything was such a big moment. That's what I love. The Ryder Cup. Yes, you were right. The USA with a big win there. Denny Hamlin holds off Chase Elliott for the win at Las Vegas. I found this race to be really boring. I'm sorry. And they had great gas mileage strategy in stage 2, and then because of that break, it screwed everything up, and it just became a race. And I don't know. Even though it looked like Chase was starting to catch him, it might get interesting. By the time it got interesting, then the race got over. The news coming out of it: Rodney Childers, the Kevin Harvick's crew chief, is suspended for a race for a lug nut violation. 4 other teams were fined for similar infractions, but they were smaller. Those 4 teams had 1 unsecured lug nut. Harvick's team had 2. I love that NASCAR will fine you or suspend you because you put yourself in big danger out there because your wheel might fall off because they're loose. But if it happens during the middle of the race, you're just going to wreck or have to pit. But if it happens after, Is
that kind of like you having a screw loose? I mean, I get told that all the time, but I mean, it's screws loose. I think it's just crazy to think about. I have not talked to her. I'm glad
Jada's not here. She would have got felt really cringe about the way I just said that.
I had 2 buddies that were down at the race, and I have not seen them or talked to them to see
they're still sleeping.
Probably
because that race is not the best. Yeah. The next 2 races will be fun. You get Talladega this upcoming week, and then the Charlotte Roval, which all of the drivers will have pink driver nets at the Charlotte Roval for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's pretty cool. But all right, it is now time for this week in sports history.
You know, my list, I was really nice. I went very small with my list, and so it'll be interesting here. This is the week in history from 922 to 928. Philadelphia's second baseman Eddie Collins becomes the only player in Major League history to steal 6 bases in one game, and he did it twice in his career. That was back in 1912. 1958, who I think one of the best players to ever play the game, Roberto Clemente, ties Major League hit by hitting 3 triples in a game. 1975, Oakland A's Vida Blue, Glenn Abbott, Paul Lindbald, and Raleigh Fingers no-hits the California Angels 5-0. 1988, Jose Canseco becomes the first player in Major League history to hit 40 homers and steal 40 bags. 1991, Miami Dolphins coach Don Shula gets his 300th career win. 1993, at age 46, Nolan Ryan pitches in his final game of his career. And then we get into a couple of the ones from back in the day. 1998, Sammy Sosa hits home run number 66 to take the lead for less than an hour to go by, and Mark McGwire hits his 66. So
that was a fun year, but
crazy year. It's marred as most of
it.
Yeah, and then the other one in 2001, Barry Bonds hits his 66 home run of the season, tying Sammy Sosa for the second most home runs in a single season. Exactly.
All right, give me your trivia.
So,
and I'm going to guess it's not on those home runs.
No, it's not, because I'm
I know.
I'm an actress person, so put an asterisk next to it.
Okay.
And I was kind of glad we went this way with the trivia. I went this way because we did talk about this earlier in the show.
Okay.
1991, Miami Dolphins coach Don Shula records his 300th career win. Who are the only other 2 to have 300 wins?
Belichick. Parcells?
No, sir. You did get one. And this includes, I should have prefaced this by saying it includes playoff wins.
I still probably would have said Parcells.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So Don Shula had 328 regular season wins, 347 total wins. He had 19 in the playoffs. You did say Bill Belichick. Right now he is sitting at 281, but he has 31 playoff wins. So he's sitting 312. And the other one sitting in number 2, and he only had 6 playoff wins, George Halas. 318 regular season wins, 324. So I'm going to pose the question to you. And we talked about Bill Belichick at the start of the show.
Yeah.
Do you think he can get past 347 before he retires?
And he's at what?
312 right now.
So that's 35.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he does it?
It's 4 years, give or take, depending on how good Mac Jones turns out to be. Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, and that was the one thing I was going to look at. And I can't remember how old Bill is offhand. But that was the question I wanted to pose to you is, do you think that he could...
I was like 69 years old.
So he's got, you're saying 4 more years possibly for that to happen.
Maybe 3 because, again, they play an extra game.
So
that's fine. Yeah, I think he does. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, that puts him at 72, 73 in that time period. So it's just crazy to think about, the standard being Don Shula, a Dolphin coach who played a lot. And then I looked and seeing George Halas only 6 playoff wins to a man that never seems to miss in the playoffs, and Bill Belichick. I'm just curious. Do you think? Yeah, I think he does make it. It'll take him a little bit.
I was hoping you're going to ask, and I just looked it up while you were talking, so I can ask you this trivia question.
Okay.
You brought up Jose Canseco,
right?
Being the first 40-40 man. Can you name the other 3? I was happy I knew 2 of them.
I would say Junior.
Nope.
Junior was not one of them, huh? All right. Wow. That's where I would lean, but I wouldn't.
He hasn't even come close, according to this.
Really? Yeah.
I'm sure he's been a 30-30. But...
Maybe Ricky Henderson.
Nope.
I don't remember what his home run stats were. He had crazy stolen base records all over the place, but
Wow, did Junior never even do it? I don't think Junior went 30-30. That's actually shocking. Okay. Learned something new.
there you
The three men, the two that I knew were Barry Bonds,
go.
my
Okay.
favorite, and A-Rod. He did that for the Mariners. So.
A-Rod.
I forgot Alfonso Soriano did it for the Nationals in 2006.
No, I forgot about it. I totally forgot about
There you go.
Alfonso.
All right, Robert fooled me. I fooled him.
There we go. We're even.
And we're running long. So that's how it goes. This has been the R&R Sports Report. Again, thank you so much to Jada Wyms
Mm-hmm.
for coming on to the show. They have a big weekend of volleyball coming up on the road. Congratulations to Devin Caruso and the men's LCSC golf team for their performance over there at the Lewiston Golf and Country Club. Enjoy all of the football and all of the other sports that are going on this weekend. One sport that I wanted to mention, just because we don't talk about it very much, but they are now in basically their semifinals, with the WNBA is down to their final four. So we'll probably talk about the finals by the time we get to next week. You want to say one last thing?
Yeah, let us know what you think. I'll be posting pictures
Yes.
of our mascots. Let us know. Post on the R&R page and let us know.
Let us know why mine were so much better. Live mascots.
Right.
That's just how it works. But we will be back here next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for some more local and national sports talk. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are